So vending and doing art markets is probably the second way I make the most money, and I want to give you guys some tips. The nice thing about art markets is that they're local and it doesn't require you to have like a bunch of social media followers, so the barrier to entry is very small as long as you have a table and all the supplies. But how do you find vending events? For me, what helped the most was befriending other artists and then asking them about where they go to sell their art and the different vending events that happen locally. And it's going to be different for everyone, but having that network of artists is going to be a big help as far as finding events. If you're new to the scene, it's going to be a little harder. So if you go on Facebook groups and look up your city art markets, you might be able to find some stuff. Sometimes going on Eventbrite, you can look up cities and different art fairs, and then you can have a better idea. Craftmaster News is also like the art market yellow pages. For me, I tend to use Instagram the most because I can see what other artists are doing, and then I also follow different market pages, and those usually keep me informed. If you guys live in the Chico area, Divine Sundays, Flume Street Market, and Lunar Market are the main big three things I look into. If you guys live in the SoCal area, check out the market. They're kind of like a roaming art market, but they're a bunch of cool dudes and they make your life super easy and they pull off really good events, so check those guys out. So now that you found a place to apply for, let's talk about vending fees and all that good stuff. So on average, most vending fees for a table, 6 feet table, is going to be around $30. Depending on the size of the event, it could be more, it could be less, but $30 is your typical table fee. And typically all you do need is a table and, for me, a clothing rack. There are people that like to pay like $50 to $60 for like a canopy space, and like unless you're selling super huge stuff and that's what you need, I wouldn't recommend it because you're still starting out and the whole idea is just trying to get known. So a simple table space works wonders for me. If you're not feeling like doing vendor fees and want to do something more DIY, look into house shows or like DIY shows that play music. Get good with the music scene, talk to some of the bands, and most of them are cool. Depending on how big the venue is, you might be able to get away with having a small section to sell your stuff and not have to pay a vending fee, because normally like local shows aren't that big to begin with and they're just happy to have someone selling art. Just make sure your art matches the music lineup. Like if you're making fancy jewelry, you don't want to sell at a punk show, and know the vibe. Now that you've secured an event, what are you gonna sell? You want to try your best to predict the audience. Like for example, if you're doing more of a flea market, you're not going to sell a bunch of inexpensive stuff. You're going to sell a bunch of like cheap stuff with like good deals. If it's more like a college event, not a lot of college students have money to spend, so you're not going to want to like put out your $1,000 pieces. Like you're probably going to sell more prints. And for me, I typically sell more prints and clothing rather than original paintings because those are more affordable and not everyone's going to want to pay $300 for a small painting. So I like to tier my stuff off. So 50% I'm going to have like small prints, $1 to $10. 30% is going to be like a little bit of small paintings, and then I'm going to have a super expensive tier. And this is so that my smaller stuff looks more reasonable. So I'll have like 3 or 4 paintings that I sell for like $500 because it's gonna make my mid-tier and low tier look a lot more appealing. But also the high tier shows your best of the best work, and you're not gonna wanna sell a painting that took you 20 hours. So that's where prints and stickers come in handy because they can still get your like good art. It's just in a cheaper form, but people will still be happy to support. For me, shirts and hoodies sell pretty well, so just keep that in mind. So now that you know what you're selling, what's the best way to set it up? And there's no easy answer, but you want some stuff to display your work vertically so that people can see it from a distance. So I got these shelves from Lowe's for like $8, and they do really good as far as letting me hang up my bigger paintings, and then people can see it from a distance and they don't have to look over my table. So if you have anything to show your work vertically, I'd highly suggest that. It's gonna really help people bring attention to your little table. Also, 6 feet is not a lot to show as far as artwork, so you want to make the most of your 6 feet by like having vertical stuff and then putting your small stuff on the table and then having a clothing rack. 6 feet is not a lot, and most of the time, if you just do the table itself, 2 or 3 big artworks are going to take up your whole table. So now that you got your table set up, let's talk about reducing friction. What is friction? Friction is whatever extra work the customer has to do to buy your artwork. So download Zelle, download Venmo, download Cash App, download PayPal, get all of those set up so people can pay you on their phones, and then have a cash box with all the change, and that's going to make the money transaction part so much easier. So far, I haven't ran into problems with me not having a card reader, but if you do have a card reader, that might make things easier too. Also, print out all your Cash App, Venmo, and like social media QR codes. That's going to make everything a lot easier if they want to find you on those stuff. So that's a good way to reduce a lot of the friction. Another thing that helps is just having a price tag on all of your products. That way they don't have to ask you how much something costs. For me, I have a sticker sheet with all the prices and I just cut those out and stick those on. But you can also use masking tape and Sharpie. You want to make the process of them giving you money as easy as possible. So now that you've figured all of that stuff out, it's time to actually sell your stuff and get into the mindset. So when you go to these vending events, you're no longer an artist, you're more of a salesman / customer service representative. So with that in mind, you might want to think about having some like bundle deals and then some free promotional stuff to give away. For me, I have a stack of stickers that I like to give away to people, and it does 2 things. 1, it helps promote your art, and 2, it starts a conversation / connection between you and the customer, and the more you guys talk, the more they're gonna feel compelled to support you. I'm not saying, give away your whole inventory or give away all of your stickers, but if you're having a good conversation with someone or they're looking around your stuff and are on the fence about buying stuff, just give them that free sticker. They'll really appreciate it. What I would say is be careful of giving away too many free things, because some people won't appreciate your free stickers and they're just gonna throw it away when you're not looking. So at least be a little bit of selective of who would appreciate your stuff and who wouldn't. Alright, so my last and final advice would be bring some sort of art supply or some sort of stuff to do live painting or a big painting so that people can watch you make art. And what this does is it allows people to see you making art, and it opens up a chance for them to start a conversation with you. And at the same time, it helps draw attention to your booth, and it also passes the time. So if you have any painting stuff or stuff to do big art stuff with drawing or Sharpie, bring those along and then just start working on your piece. A lot of time vending, you're gonna be sitting around for a long time, so this helps entertain yourself and it helps open a conversation between you and the customer. So there's no right way to vend, but these little things I notice help me out as far as being more comfortable and making sales. So I hope you guys found these tips useful too. If you guys have a totally different process than me, that's totally okay. Everyone has their own style. So that's my process for vending, and shirts sell a lot for me. But how do you print out shirts without breaking the bank? Well, check out this video over here. I'll talk about block printing and printing out shirts.